you should fill all of the forms in the Q&A time, so to make sure all of the participants join this webinar. So before we start, we'll have opening speech from the Dean Faculty of Cultural Science, Universitas Hasanuddin, Professor Dr. Akinduli MA. Prof, time is yours. Please unmute your microphone, Prof.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Erwin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
The honorable everybody, good morning, Dr. Muhammad Omus in Jordan, and Dr. Abdurrahman Muhammad Fahmi in Egypt. Good afternoon, Dr. Sumawati, Mr. Yadi, and Mr. Erwin in Indonesia. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. We are grateful to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala given health and the opportunity to meet throughout the international Webinar on Islamic Archaeology. Ladies and gentlemen, peace or all, we would like to thank the presenters, committee, and all of you that we can hold the webinar during the COVID-19 pandemic. Hopefully, we are in healthy condition. Well, the term Islamic civilization is very interesting, especially from the perspective of archaeological study. The development of Islamic science 14th century ago has colored the history of world civilization. In fact, the rapid development of Islam, both in the West and the East, in the 19th to 17th century AD, was able to dominate previous civilization. Islamic civilization is considered as one of the most influential culture in the world. In fact, until now, various types of Islamic civilization can still be witnessed in a number of former Islamic ruled countries. For example, Baghdad in Iraq, Andalusia in Spain, Fatimids in Egypt, Ottoman in Turkey, Damascus, Kufa, Syria, and so on. Ladies and gentlemen, Islamic culture has been studied from various disciplines, including archaeology. The archaeology make an important contribution to trace the early development of Islam in various parts of the world. In Indonesia, studies on the writing of Indonesian Islamic history have been carried out by several archaeologists and have given birth to several theories about Islamization this country. The question of the entry of Islam in Indonesia, when, by whom, from where, and how the process to take place began to be explained through archaeological research. As the result of this research regarding the processes of Islamization in the archipelago have been proven by material remained in the form of artifacts, tombs, grave, jar, glacis, masque, tower, forts, kingdoms, and other. The reinforce of existence of Islamization in the Nusantara, which was brought by several prominent traders from other parts of the world, especially the Arab region, as the birth of center of Islam. This evidence is treasure to for a society that has been Islamized by the bears of Islamic teaching. Based on the description above, it can be concluded the archaeology has important position in writing history, archaeological date, as primary source, provides more information on the area weighting of Islamic history when compared with written sources such as inscription or literature. Therefore, the role of archaeologists in writing history and preserving evidence of Islamic civilization is expected to increase research results at each country and share with following archaeologists in other countries. Ladies and gentlemen, through the international webinar on Islamic archaeology, it becomes a forum for sharing among us archaeologists and scholars related to the history of Islamic civilization. I hope that the webinar like this can be improved in the future. Let us make collaborative cooperation in the field of education, research, exchange of information, and enhancement of human resources in the field of archaeology. Thank you to the committee who organized this webinar. Have a good discussion. Thank you very much, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, thank you so much for opening this webinar. And let's move to the webinar. So actually we have two topic discussion today about pure, first of all is a pure archaeology. The second one is cultural resource management, will be presented by 4 people. So before we start it, we give information again for all of the participants. Thank you so much, because some participants come from different country, from the Africa region, Iberian Peninsula, Asia, and Europe. So before we start, we would like to have introduce our speakers. We would like to talk about reconstruction of the Islamic civilization through the Islamic archaeology from the Middle East to Indonesia. So it has two perspectives, from the Jordan and Indonesia. And the first speaker is Dr. Ma'en Amos. He is Associate Professor of Medieval Islamic Archaeology, Archaeology Department, Faculty of Archaeology and Anthropology, Yarmouk University, Jordan. So, and the second speaker is Dr. Rosmawati. He is Islamic archaeologist, and she is Associate Professor, Department of Archaeology, Universitas Hasanuddin. So in order to make efficient this time, Dr. Ma'en Amos, time is yours.
Thank you, Erwan.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning to everyone. Good afternoon to everyone. And thank you, Erwan, for inviting me to this event, to this webinar. And thanks to Professor Akin for his nice words. I will start. I think Erwan produced me well, so I will take advantage of time and I will start my presentation, if you please. Do you hear me well?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay, I'm trying to go to my screen. Is it okay? Can you see my screen, Erwin? Erwin, can you confirm? Can you confirm that you see my screen?
Yes, but it's not full screen.
I will try to do it. Okay. Is it now? I think it's okay now.
You can make it full screen, Professor.
Yeah, is it okay
Yes.
now? Yeah, okay,
Yes,
thank
yes.
you. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Actually, I will talk about reconstruction of medieval Islamic civilization in the Middle East. And as a case study, I will talk about the archaeology of medieval Islamic Jordan, and I will try to clarify some points related to Islamic archaeology in Jordan, okay? If I want to say that in my introduction, for over a half century, archaeologists generally assumed that the medieval Islamic period of Jordan, roughly between mid-9th to 15th centuries, was on the whole historically inconsensual to the Jordan's pioneer archaeologist Lancaster Harding. He said it was a prolonged period of depressing decline. He described it as distinctly as this. In the 9th century AD, the conquering Abbasid transferred the capital of Baghdad and to Baghdad, and Jordan began to be forgotten, not being on any trade route or producing any natural wealth. The country was left to fall into decay. This is his opinion, not mine. Okay. As you can see here, this is map of Jordan related to the medieval period of Jordan, showing the trade routes, how it goes inside the country and outside the country to many places. For people who doesn't know Jordan, Jordan is a country lies in the middle of the Middle East, in the heart of the Middle East actually. Jordan is bordered by Saudi Arabia to the south and the east, Iraq to the northeast, Syria to the north, and Palestine to the west. And these are the medieval Islamic trade routes, which goes from Damascus to the south of Jordan, and which goes to the Saudi Arabia and Palestine, Iraq, and even goes through Aqaba, okay, Gulf of Aqaba, by sea to Egypt. Only with the fall of the Umayyads between 661 to 750, it was now believed that Jordan became politically inconstitutional and a cultural backwater. Another change saw a developing awareness of widespread rural settlement during the Ayyubid Mamluk times, seen in some as connected to the active market economy of Ayyubid Mamluk Egypt, and it's related somehow to Egypt. Archaeological research of 1970s and 1980s largely bypassed the Middle Islamic period, with a few notable exceptions. Consequently, there was little motive or information to question prevailing ideas, and Harding's book, Antiquities of Jordan, explanation for supposed social and urban disintegration of Islamic Jordan developed by this time, by default, into a three-stage model, according to him. It presented a most gloomy scenario, and it's not real completely. According to him, stage one witnessed urban collapse and depopulation of the country. It was widely accepted that by the Fatimid period, the absence of a strong central government after the fall of Umayyads had precipitated a rapid collapse of urban infrastructure and the growing political chaos. This had opened up the region predatory to predatory Bedouin incursions, resulting in rural depopulation and economic recession, especially in the south of the country. In stage 2, it started in the 12th century during the Crusader invading to Jordan. They imposed central authority over South Jordan, constructing imposing monuments at Shobak. They built Shobak Castle and Karak in particular. This resulted in an improvement in the level of rural settlement even around these castles and in some villages. As a zone of conflict, however, the north was sparsely populated, according to him, and it's not true, for military outposts of both sides, notably the castle at Ajlon, which is completely Islamic. This is a photo for Shobak Castle. It was built by the Crusaders in 1115 AD, and it's changed hands with Muslims. It fell in the hands of Muslims later on after the Battle of Hattin. And as you can see, it's a stronghold in the south, in the Shobak town, and it's well occupied, well equipped for military purposes, and even for living inside it. There is another castle, Karak Castle, which is also in the south of Jordan, built by the Crusaders in 1148 AD. And this is much bigger than Shobak Castle. And as you can see, the new houses here close to the castle. And the third castle was Ajlon Castle, which was built by Ayyubid and rehabilitated later by Mamluks, which was built in 1184 AD. And it was the cause to prepare for the Battle of Hattin. It was built by Saladin to prepare the army for the Battle of Hattin and to equip this castle with weapons and siege crafts. Stage 3 started with the Mamluk revival, the expulsion of the Crusaders after the Battle of Hattin, which is the most important battle between the Crusaders and the Muslims in 1187, and the eventual reunification of a greater Syria, which was called Bilad Sham till now, with Egypt under the Mamluks in the late 13th century, heralded a new era of moderate prosperity based on regenerated rural economy. The widespread occurrence of brightly colored glazed pottery on the surface of many sites in Jordan attests during excavations and surveys. It's often suggested that population increased due to stable administration until the invasion of Asham by Timur-Lenk about 1400 century, and the growing political division and economic improvement at the onset of the 15th century. This three-stage model was convenient, seemingly authoritative and popular, especially as it dealt quickly with bothersome period of little concern to archaeologists, whose primary interest, the archaeologists during the beginning of studying archaeology of Jordan, and that of their funding bodies was biblical, classical. They are interested in biblical, classical, and early Christian Jordan. A major concern of my lecture, this lecture, is to challenge this three-stage model. It's not completely true. Outlined above by drawing upon available textual, historical, and archaeological data related to Jordan. Recent archaeological works, which were many, has gone some way to reassessing the character and extent of Fatimid Seljuk period, and the Crusader interlude, Ayyubid and Mamluk settlement in Jordan. Many excavation and expedition works have been carried out in Jordan. Also, these periods are grossly underrepresented in the current research. The object is to depict a society in throes of major cultural and economic transformation that saw it progressively integrated in an uneven stage into the Arab-Muslim world of Egypt and Greater Syria or Bilad al-Sham. Perhaps in such a manner and extent that became almost imperceptible to modern research. Yet it can be confidently maintained that the major centers and the rural population, agricultural and pastoral, can be identified through textual and archaeological resources. At the time of the arrival of the Crusaders in 1099, and presumably before this date, Jordan was under jurisdiction of the Atabic leader of Damascus. But that by 1111, the Crusader under Baldwin I had deeply penetrated this territory and invaded the country, established a permanent presence, probably with tacit support of section of the local Christian population. And it's worth noting that some Christian locals even tried to fight against the Crusaders because they consider them as invaders for their country. Not all the Christian, fight by their side. The latter kings of Jerusalem now set about consolidation their control over particularly successful in south. In 1115, Baldwin built a castle, which we presented in a picture, at Shobak, which he named Montreal or Montreal, which means the holy, or it's a fort in the hilltop. The post-Crusader domination over South Jordan, another castle this time was a massive scale, was constructed in 1142 at Karak, according to the historian William of Tyre, who described how the building goes on and how many days or years it takes to build a castle. The site of this site was endowed with formidable natural defenses and controlled the profitable Dead Sea routes. The Crusaders' presence east of Jordan was short-lived. For Jordan, including the still disputed lands in the north, were all lost in the second half of the 12th century through the actions of Nur ad-Din Zenki, who did in 1174, and the famous leader, Ayyubid leader Salah ad-Din, who died in 1193. Unlike the fortified south, Crusader claims over North Jordan were always weak because it's close to Damascus, so they couldn't, invade it completely. Consisting of an agreement to share crops, wine, grain, olives, and revenues with rulers of Damascus, which was at that time Nur ad-Din Zenki and his successors. This could only last as long as the Damascus leader, Atabic, agreed, and Nur ad-Din Zenki, who gained control of Damascus in 1154, certainly didn't not accept these rules, so there are some conflicts in the area. For the remainder of the Ayyubid period, till 1263 in Jordan, and in the subsequent Mamluk period, later on in 1263 to 1570, Jordan and its castles of both the Crusaders and Muslims' origins continued to play a leading role in the political, social history of Egypt and Bilad al-Sham, in addition to existing Crusader construction in South Jordan, Muslim castles were built at Ajlon and other cities like Salt, and even they resettled in some classical sites. They built a tower in these sites, and it's worth noting that Muslims, because Muslims fight in large numbers, so they don't need to, to build such strongholds at all. They just do it in Castle of Ajlon. Muslim castles were built at Ajlon between 1184 and 1192. Even they rehabilitate it after the Battle of Hattin. And if we came to Jordan in Mamluk period, it was divided between two administrative divisions called Mamlaka or Kingdom, which was in that time Karak as a center of the Mamlaka and another center in Damascus. As in Ayyubid time, much of Jordan was administered from Karak as a kingdom, as a center of the kingdom. The historical and biographical literary works provide a valuable source of information about socio-economic conditions in Jordan from the Fatimid to Mamluk periods. They reveal a number of major developments which together had a major impact on the social history of medieval Islamic Jordan. In essence, these were: first, the political and probably social distincts of South Jordan in Fatimid period, the dynamic economy of Fatimid Jordan embracing agriculture and arboriculture, pastoral industries, and trade and commerce, which last from the Fatimid time till the end of the medieval times. The geographical extent of the Crusader control over much of Jordan was in the south completely. A permanent shift in settlement from sites beginning in the Fatimid period, but increasing in Ayyubid and Mamluk times. And it's worth to know that the leaders follow the steps of Saladin, who populate the country again and bring some people to cultivate the land of Jordan because they were in need for this. A permanent shift in settlement from sites beginning in the Fatimid period, but increasing also in the Ayyubid and Mamluk times. The social and economic reconstruction of Jordan after the Crusader experience, concentrating on arboriculture and commercial crops, sugar, which was cultivated in Jordan Valley. Now, if we came to the quality of travel, economy, and, if we came to the travel, economy, trade routes in Jordan during the medieval times, it was to know, it's worth noting that travel in medieval times was difficult at that time, dangerous and slow. Nevertheless, many trips were undertaken for reasons of administration, war, commerce, piety, and the search for knowledge. For security reasons, it was customary for land journeys to join caravans, which came into special prominence in the winter months when it was not possible to travel by sea. Overland travel was especially slow, expensive, and hazardous. Wheeled transport was very rare at that time. Travel on land was facilitated by the vast network of caravansaries or khans, where the traveler, merchant, or pilgrim could put up under the same roof with his beast or animal and his belongings. in the same time. And these caravansaries were built by the government, even if it is Fatimid, Ayyubid, Mamluk, or later occupied by the Ottomans. The traveler by sea was totally dependent on the winds. So people don't prefer it. If they did not blow, the ship could be delayed for a considerable time. It was mentioned by Ibn Jubayr, who is a medieval historian, who took a ship from Akko or Akka in Palestine in October 1184. He was obliged to wait for 12 days for a favorable wind to sail westward. This would be supplemented by fresh produce such as a bread during the trip, meat and oil, which would be sold by local people to the ships as it passed by an inland or piece of mainland. However, after a long time at sea, the food supplies inevitably petered out. Most travelers brought enough food for 15 or 20 days. So they have to, if it is a long journey, they have to pay for food. The 10th century geographer, famous geographer Al-Maqdisi, depicts Jordan as agriculturally productive in this time. North Jordan was really populated. It is not depopulated. It's populated with villages producing olives, honey, and fruits, especially grapes. These sources further remark upon the cultivation of tropical crops, specifically dates, indigo, and bananas in the Jordan Valley. It's worth to note that around Amman, the capital of Jordan now, and further south, the herding of sheep, and even somehow in the north, and goats played a significant role in the economy. As mentioned earlier in the Crusader source of the 12th centuries, likewise described Jordan as a widely settled with villages. The crops are unchanged, still the same crops, grain, grapes, they use it for wine, dates, olives, and oil, again with sheep and goat herding, according to Al-Maqdisi. And after the Muslim reconquest of the south of Jordan, according to historians, and one of them is Ibn Jubayr, could still describe the Karak region as the choicest part of the land. It's being said that number of villages reaches more than 400 small villages were being there. Together, the 10th century Islamic geographies and the 12th century Crusader period Latin sources depict Jordan as a supporting a mixed settled and nomadic population engaged in mutually beneficial agricultural and pastoral activities between, the settlers or between the people of the Jordan. Finally, the return of Jordan to Islamic hegemony and its economic reintegration into the market system of Damascus and Cairo revived the many traditional agricultural practices temporarily disrupted, but clearly not completely destroyed by the political and social partitioning of Jordan in the medieval Islamic times. Medieval Islamic times was very active. It witnessed a heavy occupation or a heavy settlement in Jordan. And most of the historians and archaeologists, the new historians and the new archaeologists now, is trying to follow these, information by carrying out field works, by carrying out expeditions, surveys, and it's an active role. We have, just to sum up, we have many excavation work in Jordan under the supervision of Department of Antiquities of Jordan, and even a projects between universities in Jordan and other universities from Western countries like UK, like Germany and France, and of course with the Americans universities. Thank you for listening to me. I was very happy to join you today. For more details about Jordan, you can consult Erwin. He's my connection now. And if you need any question or any information related to more details about archaeology of Jordan, I will be happy to provide articles and any other things. For now, please visit the official website of Jordan Tourism Board. It's mentioned there, and I will provide Erwin and the committee with the PowerPoint presentation. This is the official site. It's Visit Jordan, which tells you as a tourist or as someone who is interested about Jordan to know the phases of occupation or the periods which bypass Jordan through time. Thank you for listening, and the floor or the mic is yours, Erwin.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, it's really give us a broad insight about archaeology and Islamic history in Jordan, because perhaps in Indonesia we know just like Petra is really famous to our country, Petra, Jordan, but the other maybe still not really known. So under this presentation, we already know some information like during the Abbasiyah era, Umayyah, and also some information about Crusader, or we call here in Perang Salib, and also about Ayyubi, Salahuddin Ayyubi is really famous in here. So maybe for all the parties, for the participants already know like some era, like from the some also temple like Ajlon is really important temple during the from the Salahuddin Al Ayyubi. And then for the participant, if you have any questions, please write in the Q&A or raise your hand, and the host will guide you to put your questions. Or if you have general question, you can put in the chat box. So thank you so much. Let's move to the second speaker, and after the second speaker, we have Q&A time, and you can discuss your questions. So for the second speaker, Dr. Asmawati, time is yours. Please turn on your unmute your microphone and share your presentation. Time is yours.
Thank you very much, Erwin. Who I respect the Dean of the Faculty of Culture Science, Hasanuddin University, the speakers, moderators, participants of the International Webinar on Islamic Archaeology. Thank you for the opportunity and trust given to me in presenting material on international webinar with the theme of Islamic archaeology. Thank you very much, support by Ministry of Education and Culture, Badan Penelitian Pengembangan dan Pembukuan Pusat Penelitian Arkeologi Nasional, Puslit Arkenas. Thank you, supported by Yarmouk University Jordan, Cairo University, Balai Arkeologi Sulawesi Selatan, Pusat Kajian Arkeologi untuk Masyarakat, Rumah Peradaban 2020. Thank you very much. Well, to be efficient, let me share PowerPoint under the title Typology and Development of Zayat Form and Ancient Tombs in South Sulawesi.
Pindahkan ke atas dulu, Bu, di bagian pertama. Slide pertama baru full screen.
Oh ya, oke.
Yes. Full screen.
Stop. Okay, you can see.
Yes.
Oh. No. Okay. Okay, you can see.
Yes. Klik dulu Bu di atas sekali itu baru full screen. Klik di situ.
Okay.
Ya. And full screen.
Oh.
Udah.
Full screen.
Ya full screen Bu.
Oh. Nah.
Wait a moment.
Enggak tampil.
Udah.
Iya. Masih full screen. Oh. Enggak. Mau tapi ini.
Oke, wait a moment.
Memang di situ di PowerPoint tak terbuka, kasih full screen-nya. Full screen-nya.
Yeah, until we wait for all of the participants, may you can write your questions related for the presentation. You can write your questions.
Udah. Tadi kan lolos. Oke. Sudah kan. Oke. Oke, Erwin, you can see. Win.
No, click share screen. Share screen.
Tadi dia lalu.
Okay.
Belum gelap HP.
Yeah, just make it full screen.
Okay. Erwin, okay, you can see. Okay. Erwin?
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, please start, bro. Yes.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Ecology and development. Gerard and Heston, Nisan and symptoms in South Sulawesi Island, Indonesia by Rosmawati, Archaeology Department, Faculty of Culture Science, Universitas Hasanuddin. Introduction. The spread and development of Islam in the Indonesian archipelago can be said to have occurred in the early years of the 12th century. Okay. Based on epigraphic stone and historical books, it can be said that the spread of Islam in the archipelago did not coincide with time, so its influence also different from one region to another. The 17th century was an important era because it was the beginning of the Islamization process in the South Sulawesi region of extreme Indonesia. Likewise, the story of the entry of Islam in South Sulawesi is interesting to discuss because Islam entered this area rather slowly when compared to the surrounding area. One of the archaeological remains of the early Islamic period in South Sulawesi is the tomb of kings, religious leader, and dark regional rulers. Okay, tombs research. Research on the tomb is part. In fact, we know need to interpret the functional interpretation because it is clear about the function of the tomb from prehistory to the present. However, the relevant problem of grave stone as the archaeological object regarding the shape or massive material and distribution of the form in the various area, both in the inland and coastal area. Research with the theme of Islamic archaeology is not in Indonesia, New Indonesia. This can be proved by the first research conduction in uh, 1907, which is still ongoing. Based on the description above, I try to explain how the typology and development of Gerard form and ancient tomb graves in South Sulawesi in the past. Okay, ancient tombs handstone in Sulawesi. Classification of grave Gerard form in the archipelago has never been done by previous experts. Okay, tomb simply the description, then the tomb is classified into several forms based on the technology of making and the shape of the Gerard as follows. Number one, the cupola, cungkup kubah, shape of the dome. You can see on photo, circle, prism, and lotus, and has developed since the century 1880 in South Sulawesi. Okay, number two, the shape of the teras cupola, teras berundak, shape getting small and developing in the 17th century AD. Number three, the shape of traditional horse cupola, which is pseudo-Gerard resembling a local traditional horse. Made of natural stone, stone blocks, bright, or made of wood. Okay. Number four, the form of terrace. From an arrangement of natural stone blocks or bricks using the taking technique. Next, number five, board shape. The construction on the tomb is made from the arrangement of stone blocks with the staking technique. Okay. Template set shape made of natural stone and stone block using the staking technique. Okay, block shape on the north and south side there are mountains. Next, monolith stone of natural stone, both base, body, and headstone all carved from one stone. Type of wood as made of different type of wood, such as ironwood, and ebony. The form a simple Gerard of natural stone. You can see photo or stone or blocks as a space divider. Okay. The shape stone mound. The shape of an ancient mound always one or two headstone are attached. Found is almost all ancient tomb complex in South and West Sulawesi. Okay, classification handstone by princess expert. You can see on photo by type of Aceh handstone leaf and type of Demak handstone right. Demak Troloyo type sometimes has a characteristic such as the Majapahit rice, Kalamakara decoration, lotus, lotus flower, lotus. Okay. Local Southern Sulawesi region, the head of the crease shape, you can see photo. Okay, the start shape always have the form of anthropomorphic gravestone, both intact and simple, with simple eyes, mouth and eyes made of stone. Okay, sword swab, a shape, medal tear as a drop and is made of stone. Okay, the shape of the spearhead. Which is a stone that resembles a spearhead like a triangle made of stone or wood. Okay, Bugis had shape, Songko Bugis, in the shape of a half round vertical lines made of stone. Semicircular shape is found in several ancient tomb complex in Wajo, such as the Tosora tomb complex. Okay, the shape, the crown block shape, the upper in the flat crown, oval or prism, vaulted from stone or wood. Okay, cylindrical shape. Okay, the shape of match from natural stone or which prior formation. The form of phallus from male genitalia, phallic, made a stone or wood. Menhir shape, whether it has been shape or not, flat or round. Okay, the cannon shape. Okay, the form of the headpiece. You can see on photo. Okay, the shape of a rock made of Chinese pottery or porcelain found in Sopeng, Wajo, Bone, and Sinjai. Okay. All trace the Jared tomb that development around the early 17th century was the Jared terrace, both Jared pseudo cupola and the original Jared. In the 18th century AD, a dome type Jared begin to provide the carpet dome and prism pyramid. Traditional house, boat, and temples beside the use of the Demak Troloyo type of headstone begin to appear in addition to the continue use the Achenese in the impression of Bugis Makassar type-wise took element of pre-Islamic local culture. The types of Jared and Mount and stone in several and storm complex set in South and West Sulawesi, showing a folk that developed in the late 17th century or 18th century AD in South Sulawesi. The type of Jairat white in stone and gunungan continue to be used into the 19th and 20th century with fundamental change to the material used in construction, successment, and bright. Okay. By looking at the phenomena, typology, variability, development by Jirat and Grafton in South and West Sulawesi, it is evident that the course of culture change and development are common. This change occurs because there is contact with the other culture or the other world because there is an outside force. The relationship between the supported of two different culture for a long time result in acculturation always reflect on the existence of the giver and receiver. The result of acculturation show that Islam enriches the existing culture by showing continuity but style with its own characteristic. Thank you very much. I return it to the moderator.
Okay, thank you so much for the presentation. So, Dr. Rosmawati talked about the development of the tombs mostly in Indonesia and specifically in South Sulawesi. And it's really he's expert on this field. So, if you have any questions about about development of the one of the important Islamic art remains is tomb. So you can put your questions in the Q&A box, or if you have difficult to put it, you can put in the chat box or in WhatsApp group. And Dr. Rosmawati, may you bisa close PowerPoint-nya?
Okay.
Okay, so because already all of the speaker for the first topic already done, we have some questions come to our box here. Maybe first of all, we have question for the first speaker. Wait a moment. Boros, may you close the, yeah, okay, thank you. The first question, we already have first questions to the Dr. Main Omos. May you hear us?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, we have one question about from the Miss Basira. I think Miss Basira in Germany. He want to ask about grapes. Is the Islamic countries in the past what kind of the grape that used during that time? It has any different from the from the past in Jordan? They use the grape as wine, or it has another kind of grapes that used today for wine?
No, it's the same, but they used special grapes for producing wine. Wine is for consumption and for trade. We have Christian population in that time until now in Jordan, and even some records, which is so amazing, dated back to the Ayyubid Mamluk period, that the Muslim farmers used to raise pigs, not for their own consumption, but for trade with the Christians.
Okay. Thank you for the question. So this is the answer. So we still have one question for the first speaker. Is is there any material culture that that have information about acculturations, Jordan culture and from the outset or only from Jordan. I mean, they want to see if there any artifact that show the acculturation between Jordan culture and another cultures.
You mean through history?
Yes, the acculturation, it has any artifact or building which show us the acculturation culture between from the origin from Jordan or influenced by outside of Jordan.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, there is cooperation that times, and they used to sell crops. If I understand your question well, they used to have, you know, a cultivation system to cultivate grain, wheat, and other plants they used to produce. And they traded it over the area of Bilad al-Sham.
Okay, so mostly the acculturation and cultivation plants. And maybe the last question, it has any, what is the special artifact from the Ayyubi or Mamluk era in Jordan, if they have specific artifact that's really famous, important artifact,
in our museums, besides the castles that we have heavy settlement around these castles, and even in the north, close to Ajlon Castle, and many artifacts were uncovered, which was coins and some weapons and some tools they used in that period. It's, you know, a close period, not so ancient, and it's studied well. And even we in Jordan produced many articles, many books concerning the life and you know, the building techniques. And even in Bilad al-Sham in Syria, it's more appropriate and more valuable because they even have more buildings there and many castles, if you read about them, like Aleppo Castle, like Damascus Castle, which was from Seljuk origin and rebuilt again by the Ayyubids.
Okay, thank you. Maybe this is the last question. We have one more from the Moses from the Airlangga University Indonesia. He wants to know about what do you think about Yehuda Nevo's theory that Islam emerged in Petra, Jordan instead of Mecca, Hijaz.
The claims of the Jews, he said.
What do you think about Yehuda Nevo's theory that Islam emerged in Petra, Jordan instead of Mecca, Hijaz?
No. It's I understand your question. This is a theory, and they published many articles related to it. As Muslims, we know that you know, our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, his mother gave birth to him, and he was lived in Mecca. And many archaeologists, many historians refused this theory of David Gibson. Yeah. And if you want, I will provide you with some articles also.
Okay. Maybe you can share after this, and we will share to the participants.
I will be happy to.
Okay. So I would like to see the chat box. Okay, and for the second speaker, we have questions. What is the cultural influence tombs in South Sulawesi? Budaya apa yang mengaruhi adanya jenis-jenis nisan yang berbeda di Sulawesi Selatan? Bu Rasmati, please answer.
Thank you very much. Terima kasih. Budaya yang mempengaruhi sehingga banyak lahir tipe-tipe nisan di Indonesia, khususnya di Sulawesi Selatan, sesuai topik yang saya angkat, bahwa itu kan ada budaya pengaruh luar, budaya lokal mendapat pengaruh pra-Islam. Nah, inilah yang masa berlanjut seperti pemakaian nisan masih menggunakan nisan menhir. Itu masih digunakan sampai sekarang. Nah, begitupun sejalan dengan perkembangan, lahirlah bentuk-bentuk nisan yang dari hasil penelitian beberapa pengkaji terdahulu seperti Hasan Muarif Ambari, Pak Ali Fadilah, dari penelitian beberapa balai arkeologi Sulawesi Selatan. Nah, terakhir dari perkembangan masuknya Islam dari proses Islamisasi, lahirlah budaya dari luar, yaitu tipe nisan Aceh yang banyak berkembang di Sulawesi Selatan dan Sulbar juga ya. Nah, dari hasil penelitian Othman bin Yatim dan dilanjutkan oleh Daniel Peret dari Malaysia yang menambahkan beberapa tipe nisan. Jadi sebelum abad ke-17 sudah ada beberapa tipe nisan yang ada di Indonesia. Masuk abad ke-18, 19 itu semakin berkembang dan semakin dipergunakan cungkup sesuai dengan tema yang tadi saya angkat, cungkup kubah, okula. Jadi tadi beberapa, jadi itu semua pengaruh dari budaya luar, budaya dari yang dibawa luar masuk ke Indonesia yang dibawa oleh para pedagang, para musafir. Inilah bukti bahwa Islam menerima budaya luar dengan berkembangnya tipe-tipe nisan yang ada di Sulawesi Selatan khususnya. Dengan penggunaan kubah pun juga merupakan suatu bukti bahwa Islam mudah diterima dari luar dengan penggunaan kubah dari beberapa pengaruh dari Persia maupun dari Arab.
Okay.
Saya kira itu.
Okay. Thank you so much. I will translate. So she said that the influence of the culture in Sulawesi, South Sulawesi, which give a different type of nisan or a headstone. It's mostly influenced by local people, local culture we see from the prehistory like megalithic, but after that during the time it's influenced also from the outside, like we have Achenese type, which is influenced from the Aceh in the from Indonesia, but it mostly influenced from the musafir and the trader from the outside, like Arab and Persian. So it's a acculturation between the local and then from the outside, and it's form of the different headstone in South Sulawesi. So maybe and also just the information. So we still have one question from the Dr. Main Amos for the second speaker. Okay, the question is they have two question. Nanti Bu Ros bisa jawab lebih singkat. Apakah ada hubungan antara tinggi sebuah makam dengan perbedaan gender, laki-laki dan perempuan yang dihubungkan dengan perbedaan tinggi makam? Kemudian kedua, apakah ada ritual tersendiri pada bangunan makam?
Okay,
please.
Thank you very much. Perbedaan dari tinggi makam sebenarnya itu tidak ada. Yang ada adalah bahwa dari jirat yang merupakan terdiri dari beberapa tindakan, itu yang membedakan bahwa yang dimakamkan sebenarnya adalah mempunyai stratifikasi sosial yang tinggi sesuai dengan tiap tingkatan. Jadi bukan karena besar kecilnya. Kadang juga ditemukan bahwa ada makam sederhana kecil tapi dia seorang bangsawan. Jadi tidak di sini tidak ada perbedaan, tapi yang kita lihat bahwa makam yang mempunyai teras semakin kata semakin tinggi atau berteras seperti pun dan berundak, semakin banyak tingkatan, dia merupakan adalah bangsawan tinggi. Jadi ada kelas. Nah, contoh kasus yang ada di apalagi di Majene. Nah, Majene itu jika kita lihat dari nisan. Jadi nisan, saya kasih contoh kasus nisan di Majene. Nisan makam yang mempunyai mahkota. Jadi mahkota dengan mahkota berarti dia makna dari bahwa yang dimakam itu adalah seorang bangsawan tinggi dengan mempergunakan mahkota nisan di kepala, mahkota di kepala dengan di bagian kaki. Nah, jika dia mahkota, tipe mahkota dengan hulu keris yang ada di Majene, ini saya ambil sampel, dia disimbolkan sebagai bangsawan yang pemberani. Bisa jadi dia bangsawan, mungkin dia istri bukan bangsawan. Jadi itu yang saya maksud dari naskah tersebut. Oke, nah begitupun jika dari gender, jadi kita lihat pemakaian. Jadi sebelum abad ke-17 kita belum bisa membedakan ini yang makam nisa, ini makam laki-laki atau perempuan. Nah, nanti setelah masuk abad ke-18, ke-17 ke atas, itu sudah mempergunakan, kita sudah bisa membedakan ini makam seorang perempuan dengan memakai nisan, katakanlah dia nisan pipih atau memakai nisan menyerupai pedang, itu disimbolkan sebagai makam seorang perempuan. Jika dia bulat atau silindrik, itu dikategorikan dia makam seorang lelaki. Itu setelah hasil penelitian dikatakan pada abad ke-17 ke atas, 17, 18, 19. Oke. Nah, di bawah itu belum ada penelitian mengungkapkan bahwa pemakaian nisan dari status gender, belum. Nanti abad ke-17 ke atas baru bisa ditafsirkan siapa yang dimakamkan, apa lelaki atau perempuan. Saya kira itu moderator.
Yeah, thank you so much for the answer. So I will translate. So related to the question is there any connection between the height of the tomb related to the female or female person? The answer is it's not related to the gender. We couldn't see the gender from the height of the tomb, but it's represented of the social stratifications. If it's more higher, it means that it's more higher their social stratification. For example, of the king, they use crown of their nisan or the headstone, and the other people just using the simple one. So the higher tomb represent of the social stratifications. And but of the nisan, but the nisan or headstone could represent of the gender, but not all. We still study about that. But for the higher and the bigger tomb is related to the social stratification. Just the answer. So because we have a lot of questions. Maybe this is the last question before we move to the second topic. And for the Dr. Ahmed Amos, we have one question for you. May you hear us? Dr. Amos?
Yeah, it's okay. I'm listening to you.
Okay, we still have one question for you. This is the last question. Okay. What was the function of the castle when crusade? Whether a palace or fortified defense or symbolic of power. So what is the function of the castle during when the crusade? Yes.
Actually, it was a symbolic of power, and it's for military purposes. And even they don't bring their families to these castles. Only men, soldiers, was lived there or were lived there. Yeah.
So it's just symbolic power.
It's a symbolic power, and as a key on the trade routes, as a connection, and they used to control the trade routes, and they used to take taxes from the caravans of trade.
Okay.
Yeah, it's taxation centers also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Menomos. And may you read the question in the chat box? Maybe you have you can answer it in the chat box also, because some question that we couldn't read and you couldn't answer here, but you can answer by the chat
Thank you.
box, and
Yeah.
our
I
host
will
will
check it.
record
Okay.
all of this question and answer. So
Thank
thank you so much for the all of the speakers for the first topic. Let's move to the second topic. We'll discuss a little bit about cultural resource management, so more later than the first discussion, because it's talking about the implementation of the archaeological studies. So the topic will be focused on the reconstruction of